Story 14.
My name is Lars Samuel Lapp III, although my friends call me Bob. I was born in 1936, the only child to actually very wealthy parents. My mother, though, she was not born wealthy. She was born in a poor farming village in Sweden, where her family participated in an experimental program of rice farming. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and they were left destitute and forced to emigrate to America. Now, my father also was born in a simple background. He was Amish. Born in Pennsylvania, spoke Pennsylvania Dutch at home, but he was a bit of a rebel, and while he was not supposed to be worried about money, he saved up a little bit of money here and there over the years and started playing the stock market without his family's knowledge, of course. And before he knew it, he had made a fortune in beans, and then left the family household and finally, with the courage to strike out on his own and live in Manhattan as a wealthy trader of stocks. Very clever he was, actually. 6 months before the crash, he sold everything he had on the market and therefore preserved the family fortune through the Depression, during which I made my entry into the world. My first memories are of learning to play chess with the deaf-mute cleaning girl, Martha. Don't know whatever happened to Martha, actually, but later on I attended boarding school in Connecticut and was pressured by my family to go into the medical field. My parents were deathly afraid of all sorts of exotic diseases and therefore wanted me to become a doctor of contagious and communicable diseases. But I felt that just wasn't cut out for me, so I told them I was not going to go to medical school and had a falling out with my parents and ran off to Africa when I was 18. Now in Africa, that's where my real education began, of course. I was in Egypt in October of '56 during the Suez Canal crisis, and seeing an opportunity, filed a story for the Washington Post, and that's where my journalistic career took off. I covered all sorts of great events in Egypt, including the hijacking at Entebbe and independence movements from Algiers to Rhodesia. I caught malaria twice, diphtheria, smallpox, all the diseases my parents were afraid to catch, but I survived. They, unfortunately, died in a tragic accident when a glider crashed into a garden party in Hyde Park, New York, hosted by Eleanor Roosevelt. But so I continued my career. But in 1976, at the age of 40, I decided that I'd like to take a little change, and I moved back to the States and began life as a writer of novels. And since then, I've published 4 titles. In 1978, Death in the Desert. 1982, Blood on the Nile. 1988, The Battle for Africa. And finally, in 1993, my magnus opus, The Definitive Guide to Zulu Cooking, which made the New York Times bestseller list for about 16 weeks. Now, on the money that I made from that, I decided to retire in comfort and have since taken up glider piloting.